E3 was literally the best thing to ever happen. I know it, you know it, everyone should know it. So if you've got some time, let me take you back. I'm a believer that generally everything ever has gotten worse in the last couple years or so. Positive, I know. But no matter how pessimistic or jaded I always get this tingly feeling, I always get excited over gaming news, gaming reveals, whatever. If it's a state of play, Nintendo Direct, or just anything. It gets my loins tingling, it gets me excited. And to be honest, maybe too much. You know when you're watching a Nintendo Direct and there's a game, it's obviously filler, and you look at it and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool, I might play it. And then it never enters your mind ever again? Yeah, that's me throughout the entirety of these presentations. And as much as these small live shows get me going, nothing, and I mean nothing, will ever compare to what E3 was. The biggest event in the gaming calendar. Every company brought their own show, their own games to E3. Everything centered around what was going to happen in 1 week. And every time it was getting close to that time, the hype was real. The days leading up to E3 were the closest things we've ever had to peace in this community. And the days after were the closest thing to all-out warfare we ever got. But it was fun discourse. It was people passionately discussing the fact that over the last 7 days, the gaming landscape has genuinely shifted. Without E3, there was no single week of the year where we finally get Ridley and Smash. We get an in-depth look at the Final Fantasy VII remake after 14 years. And we get Keanu Reeves calling some random guy breathtaking. The loss of E3 represents a lot of what the gaming community and industry is today. There's far less structure than what there used to be, and that's a terrible thing when it comes to quality. Obviously, game developers and game companies try to make the best product they can, but when E3 is the moment to sell your game, boy did it get everyone excited. And the developers knew there was a certain standard that had to be met for E3. So E3 being this big moment in the calendar was when everyone knew we're gonna get something good now. And because all these companies were at E3 at once, it became a competition. Every company tried to one-up each other, they tried to do better than each other at E3. So it brought out the best of everyone. The fact that E3 was an in-real-life event as well made it all the more prestigious. Seeing people play the demos, seeing the show floor was phenomenal, and some of these designs for the show floor was absolutely breathtaking. The type of presentations we have today could simply not give us the iconic moments that we got with E3. Remember when Ghost of Tsushima was announced and there was that live flute performance over the trailer? It made the game seem genuinely mystical. Or who could forget the Skyward Sword presentation, where we watched Miyamoto humiliate himself because the game just didn't work. But even in the later years, when E3 was pivoting to an online-only approach, it still felt exciting. It was nice seeing so much news at once. It was nice seeing every developer bring something out. It really showed the difference between their own quirks, personalities, and styles. Also, a lot of these companies really lent into their own personality, because when you've got one presentation and then another one straight after, you want to stand out. But goddamn, I say the online E3 was good, but it did not hold a candle to the IRL events. These on-stage presentations were just a phenomenal watch. Were they full of filler? Were they full of so much crap? Absolutely, but checking Twitter the next morning was an absolute meme fest.
Gaming. My body is ready.
He just disabled a moving truck with a grenade while jumping off a horse. Incredible.
E3 as a name had prestige. Your game being there really meant something. And it felt nice as a community to have our one big event. It was our Super Bowl. It was our WrestleMania. It was our one giant thing where anything could happen. The CEO of Nintendo of America got called overweight in front of a live audience. The possibilities were endless. And nowadays our main replacement seems to be Summer Games Fest, which, just doesn't hit the same. Whereas E3 was a week-long live event with multiple live streams from different companies, Summer Games Fest feels like one live stream followed by some demos that you specifically are not going to get to play. It's more compact, it's more straight to the point, and when you put it like that, it sounds better. But, to be honest, more efficient just doesn't hit the same. Where's the magic? Where's the spark that E3 had? It was wonderful seeing all the big companies in the same place at one time, representing themselves. In the current gaming climate, multiple big presences are not felt at the same time. The big three companies are kind of bigger than Summer Games Fest itself, meaning that they're not going to appear because they can put on a bigger show. And when they do announce something at Summer Games Fest, it's normally something they've already revealed at a State of Play, or an Xbox Showcase, or a Nintendo Direct. Summer Games Fest feels like an evening's entertainment, whereas E3 was this week-long hype machine, where you'd watch it, and then you'd watch videos come in from the show floor, you'd watch people play the demos, you'd also just watch people vlog the event. It was a community experience that brought everyone closer. I remember literally foaming at the mouth for E3 2017. The Switch had just come out, and Nintendo's presentation was stellar. Mario Odyssey was kind of the main game they were pushing, and their entire show floor was Mario Odyssey themed, and I remember looking at it and being, that looks like the greatest thing ever. That's where I want to be. And from that moment I thought I always want to go to E3. And that's something I can't do anymore, and it makes me miserable. Especially because since then I've become quite a big convention goer. And it makes me genuinely sad I'll never be able to go. I lapped up everything to do with E3. It was a calendar highlight. And despite its pretty obvious pitfalls, it was a wonderful thing for us to share. And yeah, there were some pretty big drawbacks and pitfalls when it came to E3. There were a lot of promises made that were never kept. The amount of filler content was ridiculous, and because it's a live event where all the companies are directly competing with each other, there was some money spent in areas probably you could spend it elsewhere. Then again, most of these things are already rampant at Summer Games Fest. There are still false promises, even though that's the developer's fault, not the show. There's always going to be filler at these sort of things, there just will never be that many great games to show off. And wasting money on celebrity appearances seems to be the main move of Summer Games Fest and the Game Awards, so we might as well just go all out and go back to E3, I think. So if I think it was so amazing, which is a sentiment I feel other people share, could E3 ever come back? I don't think so. COVID was kind of the killing blow for E3. When they had to cancel the in-person event, they just never sort of came back. But over the last couple years, it started to go more online and it started to go downhill. The big companies realised they could just promote themselves and they don't need this platform anymore. And I kind of feel this represents a problem with the gaming community in general. More so the lack of it. These days, gaming has become so big that the gaming community isn't really a thing anymore. There isn't one central conversation we all have. And obviously, I'm making YouTube videos about video games. I would consider myself a pretty hardcore fan. But gaming has become so mainstream and we have so many normie players that there's kind of a divide. If you're PlayStation, 90% of your sales are coming through these regular people. They don't look up video game news, they just play Call of Duty, FIFA, Madden when it comes out every year. So why waste all your money advertising to the hardcore fans who are A, gonna find out about these games anyway, and B, buy your games anyway? You're best spent advertising to these normies, I really hate that term, because they're what's gonna drive up your sales. So basically, to summarise, E3 died out because some people just won't play a game if it hasn't got a ball or a gun in it. These people will only play COD and FIFA, when they should be playing Balatro.